So welcome everybody to this AmplifyFE webinar, which is with Gavin Lumsden, and it's putting theory into practice with the new Diploma in Teaching. I'm going to do a shameless plug for another webinar that's coming up on the 30th of December, which is going to be with Chloe Hines and I, which is alternatives to Twitter. So where next? Should we go to Blue Sky or LinkedIn or Threads? So that's a hot topic coming up. But without further ado, I'm going to get Gavin to introduce himself, and he is going to let you know all about the DIT and what it involves.
Okay. Lynn, thank you very much and welcome all, and thank you for putting into the chat where you're all from. Welcome, as Lynn's very kindly said, although every time someone uses my full name I feel like I'm in trouble. Gavin Lumsden from Essential Teaching UK, and why am I here today? Well, I've had the amazing pleasure over the last 2 years to be working with the Diploma in Teaching FE and Skills from conception through to very recently myself and Anne Gravel's writing the Achieving Your Diploma in Teaching FE and Skills, putting theory into practice for the qualification and the apprenticeship. And I was invited by AmplifyFE to talk to you guys today about the diploma, and I'm going to try and bring it into conversation in 2 ways, which is either that you're about to do the diploma yourself and you're looking to enroll on the Diploma in Teaching, or also that you are a deliverer of the programme and you're looking to deliver the DIT within your college or organisation. So if I can just ask for a show of hands, who is going to be delivering the Diploma in Teaching in the next few months or year? Okay, so we definitely got Jane, thank you. Who, in that case there, oh, another one, Jess, thank you. In that case, who is either here just purely out of interest or because you're possibly going to be a learner on the Diploma in Teaching either this academic year or soon? Okay, and we've got Sarah there that's possibly going to. Okay, so brilliant, thank you. And that is what I expected. So I've designed the slides that we've got, the presentation that I'm going to just deliver over the next 10-15 minutes is designed to meet everyone's needs. But what is more important is what I want once I've done this, once we've had the little presentation, is to answer your questions, because I know it is different to the Diploma in Education and Training, significantly different in some areas, and what I'm finding on social media, in meetings we're having with colleges across the UK, is there's lots of questions. So let's make sure we've got time for you to ask your questions at the end of the session. So without further ado, I'm going to take Lynn's advice and click on the purple button and hopefully share with you what is behind me. Okay, there we go. So as Lynn introduced, we're here today to talk about the Diploma in Teaching FE and Skills, and it's about putting the theory into practice with the new qualification itself, and hopefully it is very informative and what you need to hear. So let's start with the diploma. One thing that hasn't changed is who is the diploma for. The diploma has remained and is still relevant for anybody that is looking to or working in a college, prison, private training provider, uniform services, the workplace, outdoor learning environments, community organisations, or the volunteer sector. So absolutely, it is not a programme just for college lecturers and teachers and trainers. It still covers that vast array of FE and skills sectors within our area. The debt to DIT. So hopefully you're all aware that the debt ceased to exist on the 31st of August. However, most awarding bodies, and certainly Training Qualifications UK, who we work alongside, anybody that is registered to do the diploma in education and training, they have 2 years from the date that it closed to complete their portfolio. But more excitingly, from the 1st of September this year, you could register learners on the diploma in teaching. And I'm glad to say, and if anyone follows me on social media, you'll see me jumping around about it. We were the first organisation at Essential Teaching UK to register anybody within the UK on the diploma in teaching. So we were the first organisation to have our first 5 learners embark on the diploma in teaching. So what are the differences between the DET and DIT? The DET was very much generic educational content, whereas the new DIT has new topics such as education for sustainability, digital and online technologies, threshold concepts, troublesome knowledge, and also a greater view on bringing that practical teaching into the portfolio with some other areas which I'm just going to cover in a bit. It does remain focused on subject pedagogy for groups of 14 plus. So what else have we got? The previous DET was on previous teaching standards, whereas the new DIT is linked to the teacher learning skills, teacher occupational standards and duties, and we'll have a little look at more of those in a bit. You'll notice I've added some things in red, and these are things that we're going to cover a little bit more in detail as we go through this presentation. But ultimately, we've got the new framework, the same framework that the apprenticeship is put against is the standards that's used. There's a greater emphasis on mentorship within the new programme, and this one now requires you to have 2 mentors for each trainee teacher, and we'll talk more about that. Teacher practice. You'll probably remember the DET had 100 hours worth of teaching practice that you need to log and 8 observations. That's now changed to 250 hours logged of both 150 hours of teaching practice and 100 hours of non-teaching practice. Again, for more about that in a bit. 10 observations. That has caused some concern with some areas, but bear in mind, it used to be 8 observations of 1 hour. Now it is 10 observations of 45 minutes. So slight difference in duration, but overall very close in time allowed. Entry requirements, again, some of these have changed, but some have stayed the same. So you still have to be over 19, you still have to be qualified or experienced in a specialist area. You still have to be able to demonstrate the ability to study at level 5. However, now you do have to be a holder of relevant maths and English qualifications with the diploma in education and training. You just used to have to demonstrate your ability of maths and English at level 2. I think this is a good thing because if people are wanting to progress onto QTLS, you need it at that point anyway, and I think it's a good standing for the diploma in teaching. So maths and English level 2, again, talk more about that in a minute. Something that again hasn't changed, digital competency. You've got to be able to have that element of digital literacy to be able to do the course. Likewise, you've got to be able to study, read, research, and complete the assessments in your own time, because it is, a 120 credit course. By simple maths, that works out at about 1,200 hours worth of study, and clearly that needs to be done in your own time. Something that was very much observed and ensured happened within many of the areas that we spoke about at the beginning, but it is now a requirement to ensure that those that partake on the course do not have a criminal background. that prevents them from being a teacher in the future. And again, I've got a slide to open up that little bit of the conversation. And we've already talked about the hours, but again, I've got a little bit more information about that in a bit, of how those 250 hours of teaching practice and non-teaching practice has to be opened up. So hopefully that set the scene so far on the changes with the diploma in teaching, FE and skills, and likewise some of the things that have stayed the same. Let's have a look at some of those that have changed then. So the first one that I mentioned was the maths and English, and these have changed in the fact that you've got to be able to demonstrate via certificates that you hold these qualifications prior to being enrolled on the diploma in teaching. What does that mean? It means you've either got to have a functional skills level 2, so for example, functional skills in English level 2, and it has to be Ofqual regulated, or likewise you have to have a GCSE grade C or 4 or above. And I think now, I did the maths, we could start to be seeing learners with grade 4 at the age of 19 plus now wanting to do their diploma. So again, it would be a GCSE maths from September 17 would then demonstrate a grade 4 to 9, which is equivalent to C, which is equivalent to level 2 in maths or English. So there is the first major change, that's got to be checked and supported by evidence of individuals having that. We've then got the criminal background element, and obviously, you know, in colleges and in a lot of educational institutions, there would be the DBS, which would check for any criminal background. But as a rule of thumb, if you've got anybody that is applying for to do the course and they've got sexual offences or crimes of violence or crimes of dishonesty, including fraud and embezzlement, then that would bar them from being able to complete the diploma in teaching, and would also, once they get to the DBS stage, would bar them from being a teacher within certain areas. So you know, something that I think again should be looked at the start of the programme, so that people don't go through the whole diploma in teaching either over a year or over 2 years and then find out they can't have an employment route as a result of doing this programme. One of the big changes, one of the ones that's probably occupied my social media the most, around questions around what counts and what doesn't count to that 250 hours. But it is now 250 hours as opposed to 100. It is both teaching and non-teaching practice, so that teacher workload element that it looks at, and it is also to be over at least 2 work placement locations, and again that's brought up a number of questions of what does that 2 workplace locations mean. It can mean a different college, but it doesn't have to mean a different college. It could be a different department. And to give you an example, if you were to be a teacher of maths and then you want to go to a different placement location, then something more vocational, something more practical, maybe like public services or hair and beauty or hospitality and catering, would be a really good second placement within the same college. However, if you do have other colleges within your trust or within your area, then absolutely that would be a good option. Within the first location, you've got to do a minimum of 150 hours worth of teaching practice, and you've got to do a minimum of 100 hours worth of non-teaching practice. Sorry, forgot the words there. Non-teaching practice. What does that look like? Well, minimum of 100 hours teaching your subject specialism, a further 50 hours teaching your subject specialism or another subject, so you total that 150 hours. A minimum of the 20 hours should be remote, and a lot of awarding bodies have included it as a should element rather than a must element, because depending on your learning environment, that might not be possible. So if you're working within an outdoor learning environment, then doing remote live teaching may not be possible. However, if that isn't, then every if you can, every way that should be done is of benefit to the individual. I'm not making great sense there, but you know, if it can't be done, that's fine. But where it is practically possible to do so, it should be done. That 20 hours worth of teaching remotely. Likewise, a minimum of 80 hours needs to be in person. Clearly, you can see with the 150 hours, there is a little bit of left and right of arc there that can, you know, be used if you do teach a little bit more online, or if you do teach a little bit more in person, or vice versa, then that can be used to your advantage. So we mentioned as well earlier that one of the big changes is the mentors. So now you require 2 mentors within the workplace, and that is 2 mentors in addition to the support from your course tutor or your assessors. And those mentors, one will be your subject specialism, so somebody that teaches your subject specialism within your area, and again, this is the part that hasn't changed. What has changed is the need for a second mentor, which is a pastoral mentor, or sometimes called the professional mentor, who will be able to give you general advice and support regarding your teaching role. And quite often, a lot of the colleges I'm working with, that is the quality team. That is the quality team within the college that is using those individuals as the pastoral mentor, and then the line manager or somebody else suitably qualified and experienced within the department is becoming the subject mentor. But again, if there's any questions on that, then please ask at the end. So very quickly, occupational standards, what do they look like? What is this framework attached to? Well, it's attached to the occupational standards, it's attached to the duties, and these duties are there to ensure the teachers are responsible for fostering passion of learning, maintaining high expectations, and supporting student development. There are 9 duties in total, and some examples that we've got: promote a passion for learning and setting high standards, and maintaining a focus on outcomes for all learners. So that's just a quick example of the occupational standards that are there within the duties part. Then, very similar, exactly the same in fact as the apprenticeship, we've got knowledge, skills and behaviours, and these are set within the diploma in teaching to ensure that you are meeting all of the knowledge requirements, the skills requirements and the behaviour requirements, so that you've got that deep understanding of pedagogical theories and how to apply them in practice, that you've got those practical skills to involve integrating subject research into your teaching or minimalising the barriers that are there, and also looking at the effective teaching that requires the resilience, adaptability and commitment to professional development, and maintaining a positive relationship with your learners and colleagues. So all the elements as you go through, and every awarding body that has submitted to Ofqual the wish to deliver this programme has written the course specifications to meet both the 9 duties and also knowledge, skills and behaviours of the LST apprenticeship, but within a vocational diploma in teaching side of things. It would be remiss of me not to mention that once anybody has done the diploma in teaching, no different to the diploma in education and training, it does enable individuals to then go on and complete the QTLS, the Qualified Teacher and Learning Skills status, should they wish, after completing their diploma. And it still stays the same. I'm glad to say that if somebody wants to do their QTLS straight after completing the diploma in teaching, or even maybe 2 or 3 years later, both options are still remain with the Society of Education and Training, that they can complete that once they've done the diploma in teaching. I am going to make this presentation available. Some of the information, no surprise, that we've talked about today has come from and my book, Achieving Your Diploma in Teaching, FE and Skills. But there are other areas where you can get more information about the diploma in teaching and what resources and things you may wish to use. Anne Gravell's other book, Principles and Practices of Teaching and Training. On my website, there is suggested books and wider reading and research, and that will take you to a reference list. And there is also another reference list on Anne Gravell's site of textbooks for research and study skills as well. We've also taken some of the information from some of the well-known websites out there that, again, a lot of you will have probably seen previously, but those are there to give you greater information as you wish. So that brings me to the end of my slides, and what I'd really like to do now is hopefully, Lynn, if you can see, I saw there was quite a few questions. I think we're 18 questions at the moment in the chat.
Yeah, there's lots.
Are you able to?
Yeah, I absolutely am. First of all, I've popped links both to your website and to the book in chat so people can look those up. Yeah, some excellent questions, so keep those coming, please. First from Nick, which is a very useful and commonly asked question. Can the subject specialism mentor be quite broad? For example, can they be within construction even if they are not in exactly the same trade? We are struggling to match some exactly as we don't have appropriate staff. I'm sure that's a common issue, Gavin. So that from Nick.
Yeah, no, I think it is a common issue, and it's one that I've had a conversation with ecologists that name doesn't ring a bell right now. So yes, what I would say is, in an ideal situation, you're going to be your mentor, where possible, should be like for like. So if you are teaching hospitality and catering, then ideally your mentor should be somebody within hospitality and catering. However, if we use engineering as a prime example, you may have somebody that teaches marine engineering and another person that teaches mechanical engineering or electrical engineering within there, especially if it's a small team. And I certainly think that as long as that mentor can give you the support and guidance for those that are new to teaching, to suggest ways of developing their practice, or maybe once they've completed some reflection in action or reflection on action, and they need some support with making changes to the way that they teach certain parts of the subject specialism. If that individual can fulfill that role, then yes, absolutely, it can be somebody within the wider subject area. It is better than not having somebody at all.
No, that's excellent. Thank you. Another question from Sarah, which is a really intriguing one. What would influence someone to take the DIT rather than, say, the Cert Ed or the PGCE?
I do like this question. I answer this question probably more than any other question, actually. So it absolutely depends on the individual. So what are we looking at here? And I did my last talk, which was with Oxfordonian College. Somebody else asked exactly the same question. What I will start with is the PGCE FE and the Cert Ed FE and the Diploma in Teaching. They absolutely all now sit on top of the same framework that I've just mentioned in the presentation, which is the learning skills teacher framework and the 9 duties. So all 3 courses sit on the same foundations. So from that point of view, there is no difference from the foundation point of view and from the framework that it's sat on. What I would then look at is the next stage, which is who has written that program, that course specifications. So you've got the likes of Training Qualifications UK, City and Guilds, NCFE as the main 3 that have got off-core regulated courses. Then you've got the universities that have taken the HE route with the PGC and the Cert Ed, and again they will have written their own course specifications. So your next point to look at is how is that course specifications written? How is it laid out? does it meet your requirements as an unqualified trainee teacher, and have a look at that. The other elements that you should always bear in mind is the level that PGCE, Cert Ed or Diploma in Teaching is set at. So a Diploma in Teaching is always going to be level 5, a Cert Ed is always going to be level 5, a PGCE FE will either be a level 6 or a level 7. If you are wanting to go on and do a master's and you want the element of the master's credits that come with that PGCE, then there is another reason to do a PGCE. However, if you're not looking to do a master's, or you already have a master's, so the credits as a freebie and an RPL isn't really relevant, then you really do have an open playing field on which course you choose. I personally would look at as well the college or the training provider that is delivering that Diploma in Teaching or the PGCE Cert Ed, because again, the programs will differ. If I was to ask to choose for you, I'm clearly slightly biased, I'd choose the Diploma in Teaching every day of the week.
No, that's excellent advice. Oh, right, we have another question from Jane. What's your sense of the mix between pre-service and in-service use of the new DIP framework? It seems likely that the majority of pre-service will be through university accredited programs where there's funding available.
Good. That is a good question. So I think, firstly, yes, it is. If that can be an answer, I think most people that complete the DIT will be in-service individuals, and we are certainly finding that as an organisation, as part of Essential Teaching UK. Will it be down to funding? I think with the Department of Education's funding, again, that leads it to be very much more in service. However, those that do it pre-service, there is the hurdle, obviously, of that 250 hours worth of teaching practice, and as a result of that then does mean that they would have to have a significant placement to be able to do it pre-service, which again probably pushes more people to doing it in service. I'm not sure if that answered the question. That was a really good question that is going to be very different for the individual, I think.
Yes, Jane says thank you, as does Sarah. I'm not sure we've got many more questions coming through. I think one thing that occurred to me, which was, of course, I'm going to ask the digital question. What is your broadest interpretation of 20 hours remote live teaching? What are we really talking about here?
So I think we are talking of everything from having live, as in individual, on camera, and then delivering something like we are doing now, but with a little bit more interactive. I think also there are going to be some areas where they will look to use more of a learner-centric model with tutor support alongside that. And I think as long as there is that learner-teacher interaction, whichever way that works in the live remote, I don't always think that needs to be on camera, but there needs to have that learner and classroom group interaction. Does that answer your question, Lynn?
No, that's really helpful, that it doesn't always have to be, for example, what we're doing today with more interactivity. There's been so many questions and so much enthusiasm for this that we've gone a little over time, so I'm going to wrap it up here. But thank you so much, Gavin, for coming and sharing your wisdom. And I'm going to stop.
No worries, thank you.